I have such a good, not good, amazing support system, especially with my dad. The way he sells tickets, like he always just goes all out, and he showed me last time. He went through his entire contact list. And he told everybody, hey, you want to get tickets for my son's fight, and this and that. And so we get like the biggest crowd. So I remember like my first fight, I was still a white belt. Everybody was asking me, hey, so like what number fight are you? And I'm thinking it's my first fight, I was fighting a guy, I think he was 2-1. And so I was like, we'll probably be like one of the first. So I texted the promoter the night before. I was like, hey, like, do you know when I'll be fighting so that my people show up? And then he goes, actually, you're bringing in so many people, so we're making you the main event.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcast, Rafa Esparza, and today we have a great show for you. If you're watching this right now, we appreciate you. If you want to check out more content from us, you can go to hi.page/grappling hour to see more interviews like this. But I am doing this one in person because I saw the young man to my left, your right, recently fight. He was really good. His jiu-jitsu was really solid. I was really impressed. And I was photographing that fight. And when I went back to go look at some of the photos, I said, yo, you know what? I really want to interview this guy. He was kind enough to not only give me his time, but to also train a little bit with me, thus us still in rash guards. Just finished training with him. Let me just confirm, monster, excellent wrestling, excellent mount, excellent from back. I mean, literally just the control. I don't want to call him a Khabib, but, we're working toward that, and definitely a good study of that. But he recently fought for True Promotions. My man here, you're 6-0 right now?
Yes, sir.
Congratulations as an AMMY, an excellent fighter here on the SoCal scene that I wanted you guys to get to know. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Eddie Bernal. Eddie, how you doing, sir?
Good, man. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
You know what? I will tell you, it is weird to switch off the gear, because when I did this and I had this grip, I was like, I had a better grip there than I did the entire time we were rolling. So let me ask this, man. You have such a great jiu-jitsu game, but I could tell that you were a wrestler. Just by watching you a little bit, I was like, yeah, this dude's wrestled a little bit and learned how to do jiu-jitsu. Where did all of like wrestling or martial arts start for you?
So for me, it started back in high school. I started wrestling around January of my sophomore year. So season was already in progress, and I just started doing the practices. And then, so I didn't compete till my junior and senior year. But ever since, like, I would say January of like 2015, I started wrestling, started doing all the camps and stuff throughout summer. Just wrestling was year-round thing. And I enjoyed the activity of wrestling. Like, it was just, I like getting in there and learning all the moves and seeing how everything transitioned together. And it was really fun. But I always really liked the jiu-jitsu aspect of it. I liked watching jiu-jitsu and learning how to like do chokes and arm bars and all that. So I knew I always wanted to do that. I just didn't know how I was going to get into it or where. It would just always be me and my friends messing around in the wrestling room. And
so I want to stop here because we were talking off air.
Right.
And again, I'm a pro wrestling fan.
Right.
I learned that you actually can predate this in bounce castles. Is that where it started? Like, is that how Hispanic you are?
Pretty
that
much.
Your family was just like, all right, we're going to get a bounce castle. And what happens? I don't see. Because back then, I don't know if kids know this now. Families would buy a bounce castle and all bets were off.
Pretty much.
I remember once in a bounce castle, I think I lost my breath for the first time, and I dumped out of bounce castle afterwards, and I thought I was dying. And I was trying to go back to the party to be like, and then right as I was about to see my sister and go like, I can't, shit, it's back. Okay. Legitimately thought I was dying for the first time, like an idiot child. But is that where that goes to you?
I can relate to that. Yeah, I had a bunch of older cousins, and we were always watching WWE all the time, and so I was the test dummy. They would pick me up and slam me. They would do Batista bombs, and they would pedigree me and everything. Every single move, like, okay, well, let's see if this works and see how this works and all that. So I was taking all the bumps.
Did you get any offense in?
No, not for a while.
No.
I try to now when I see them now. Like, hey, let's go in the bounce castle, and they don't want it anymore.
Well, I mean, you're a fighter now, so you now it's a little bit different. But I'd always wondered, did you have a finishing move that you liked or that you tried to emulate?
I don't know. The pedigree was always probably one of my favorites. The thing was, I was always too little, so if I was trying to get in that position, they would just stand up, and then it was
that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
What was the worst bump to take? Like, what was the worst move to take?
I would probably say the spear was the worst one to take. I would get speared from hell like every single time, and it's like I would just one person would be talking in front of me, and then I would turn around, and then I would just get speared like Goldberg style, dude. Like
where it's really like they're hurting you, kind of a thing. Oh
bad.
Man,
yeah.
So if that's the case, did you take those habits with you into the wrestling room? Because now you had people that you could kind of mess around with that were friends,
right,
but not family, who, you know, sometimes when they're just older and they're bigger, they can use that to get away with doing stuff.
Right. Yeah, no, it wasn't much different, honestly, when I first went into wrestling. Everybody was doing the same thing. Like, people would double leg me, and they would like, oh man, the crossface, like everything was, I would get it all the time. And then it wasn't really till like, I would say a little bit, summer probably like going into my junior year. Actually, sorry, summer going into my sophomore year, I started to have, summer going into my senior year, I was starting to have more success. And I was starting to like catch some guys, you know, like I'd catch them in pins. I would pretty much just get lucky. Yeah. And then, but I always like to talk, you know, at least if I was going to get my ass kicked, at least I was going to have some fun while I was doing it.
Oh, see, I didn't know. If I would have known that, I would have changed my whole role with you.
No, yeah.
Because we had a short discussion of how I can trash talk and actually get good moves or good passing. Mm. I was too like, I don't know you. Right. Like, we're just starting to roll. It was very friendly. You were very nice with your pressure, as opposed to what I've seen in fights. If that was the case, I would have been roasting you the whole time.
I know. I kind of wish you would have. That would have been way better. I always, whether I'm playing, my family, they'll be watching this, and I know they will. But like in Monopoly, I'm the guy you don't want to win. Like you won't hear the end of it. So now I don't think I'll ever win another game of Monopoly, just because they all work against you. Work against me. They don't want to hear it. So,
do you inhabit a character, or is it you? Do you just inhabit like the worst version of yourself? Because when you mentioned that you're trying to beat your family at Monopoly, all I could think about you is with like a Cuban hat and a cigar, being like, "It's going to be $200 to park it here."
Yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly what it is. I'm like, you know, I know what properties I have, and I'm like, you better hope you don't roll a 4, because then you're gonna have to pay up, you know. And I'll be making deals with them, and I'm like, if you don't make this deal, I'm not going to make it again. Like, you're not getting this offer again. And you're going to hear it.
So you're just going cutthroat businessman the entire time. It's like, I see you've got 5 properties left. What can we do about that right now?
Exactly. Yeah. And so, but now they know better. And so they don't let me have anything. Now nobody wants to make deals with me. Which I think is almost better, because it's like, you know, you know, I'm dangerous.
I'll tell you this. I'll make you a promise. The next time we roll, I will do nothing but talk trash to you.
I love that.
And I feel, because again, a lot of my friends know this, and I really try to be honest about it. I don't just openly talk trash to people, but you have to be a certain caliber of person and technique. And I think that talking trash to people who are above you, they're clearly on the joke, where you go like, oh, they're beating me.
Yeah.
I've just barely met. Excellent jiu-jitsu, excellent wrestling. But I venture to say I'd probably do better with the ability to be like, you call this side control?
Yeah.
Is that cool? I thought you won fights, man. I thought this was, you know, it's what we do.
Yeah, I definitely have a couple people in here that we roll with, and we're talking the whole time, and it's, you know, it's fun. And then you have some people where it's like, I know if I say something, I'm gonna get it back. Like I'm probably gonna pay for it. That's part of the fun.
What is the worst roast that you have ever had mid roll or a mid wrestling match that like just stayed with you? Because I'll tell you one, and I'll give you time to think about it. I'm known, and you know this now, but in my circles, they like to call me Captain Defense, or they know that I'm a very defensive grappler. So one of my homies, really good MMA fighter, he and I talk trash to each other consistently. And I do it because I know it pulls out better versions of him. And again, I'm like, dude, I know if you weren't like this, I couldn't do it. But he would always be like, yeah, dude, you're just a defensive grappler. And I was like, but I'm tapping you. And he's like, yeah, but you know, I was winning. And I was like, till you didn't. So one day I went up to him this actually week. We put up a video of this, and I go over to him. I'm like, hey man, come here. It was like the end of class. I just set up like my camera. I walk over to him and I go, hey man, I was thinking about this. You know how you call me a defensive grappler? He goes, yeah, you are. And I go, right, about that. I realized the only times, and you've only tapped me like a couple times, that you've ever tapped me, it was off of stuff that I initiated. So actually, that makes you more of a defensive grappler. The dude laughs, walks away, and flips me off. And then the next day when we went to go train, he goes, I was really thinking about what you said. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, you're fucking right, man. I literally went back to think, like, when have I tapped Raph? So I knew it. I told him, I'm like, I got in your head, huh? And he goes, yeah, man. But that day we trained, much better. Yeah. He was really bringing it. Didn't tap me, but he was bringing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can think of one, actually. I was rolling with my friend Calston, purple belt, very, very good. And he's a tall, like, lanky guy, like, really tall, like 6'5" or something like that. And super flexible. Like, his guard is just insane. And so I remember one time I passed his guard, and then I got on top, and I was a white belt when I started, and I think he was a blue belt. So he's always a belt above me. And then I had him, like, I took his back, and then, like, I had him like in a kind of like a sliding collar type choke. Mm-hmm. And then time ran out, and I was like, dude, I had you. And then he pulled out like the old, like, Fast and Furious. He was like, you never had me. You never had me for a second. And so I think about that now. I was like, anytime we get close to catching him, I'm like, I don't think I'm actually close to catching him as close as I think I am. He's very good.
Man, but again, everybody has something that you don't think would cut deep, where you're like, oh, you just quoted the Fast and the Furious at me. Meanwhile, you go home. I should have. And I've done the same where I'm like, I should have finished them. Mm-hmm. I had that opportunity. Mm-hmm. Like I think there was one point when I was rolling with you in the gi, and I had something, and I go, if I don't finish this, we're going to be here for another 10 minutes, just going back and forth. Mm-hmm. And I was sure as hell right, because I go, yo, I really need to try and finish this. And it happened to be something that I know you're good at. So I was like, this is murder. But in my head, what I appreciate about your rolling style that is similar to mine, you asked right at the beginning, you were like, hey, do you want a clock? And I was like, I don't really do a clock. I just kind of go until we got to do this and I got to go. And I like people who do that, because I don't like being saved by a bell. I don't like any of that stuff. I just like an organic roll. And if you're tapping me a ton, I'm learning. I don't care. You know, if I'm tapping you, then I've already made contact with the genie and gotten a few wishes done. But I appreciate people who can just go. So having training partners who can go, but also not be behemoths. Mm-hmm. And you have your strength so well in check in what you're doing. So a lot of that technique has definitely shown through. So where you mentioned that you kind of went wrestling. At what time then? You mentioned you were almost doing some missions in the wrestling room. So was that when the coaches were away, you guys would just start teaching yourselves?
Pretty much. Like, there would be open mat and stuff like that. And we would just be wrestling, and we would just, practice on whatever we wanted to practice on. And then this was after I finished wrestling as a senior. Mm. And so, me and a couple other guys, we would start like wrestling and stuff. And then somebody like jokingly threw in like a rear naked choke. And they were like, why don't we just let it go then? Why don't we just do that? And I'm like, I'm down with that. So then we were all trying to hit arm bars and stuff. And I don't remember exactly how it was, but I just know the technique was straight garbage. And everybody was just going for like guillotines all day. Like, they would shoot, sprawl, go for guillotines and stuff. And so, but I remember thinking like that was the most fun I've ever had in that wrestling room, was just doing all that stuff. And so I was like, I really want to start training this one day. And then that's how I kind of got into it. I was like, I'm going to find a way to do it.
There is kind of an expiration date on wrestling for most people. It's kind of cool to see there pop up to be more opportunities for them now. Mm-hmm. But it always felt like, all right, I wrestle, so I'm either coaching or I guess fighting. Mm-hmm. But for you, it seemed like you went to Jujitsu next, then started fighting. Is that the trajectory, or did some of that get mixed up?
Yeah. So I, one of my really good buddies, AJ, he was like, hey, like, it started like with trash talking. We were at lunch one day, and he goes, he was like, so like, how good is your wrestling? You never seen me wrestle before. And I'm like, I mean, it's okay. And then he goes, I don't think you could take me down. And he's like 6'2", 6'2", I think, like 220. I'll be nice. I'll say 220. I joke around with them and I say he's like 260, but and he's like, you couldn't take me down. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I could. And like, you played football and like he's a kicker. And I'm like, you're a kicker. You know, like you're not really an athlete. Like I could take you down. He goes, well, I did jiu-jitsu when I was younger, like I'm a green belt. And like, that was before I knew like a green belt is pretty, it's a pretty badass. Yeah. So he's like, nah, you wouldn't be able to take me down. And I was like, okay. Well, he goes, let's go to the wrestling room then. We'll just go right now. And then I was like, I think it's locked. I don't have access to it. And he goes, well, my dad owns a jiu-jitsu school. One day you can come over. We'll go down there. Like, we'll train a little bit and we'll see who's right. Like, all right, fair enough. So we came in and, I was just wearing my wrestling stuff. And then sure enough, like I'm going and he's standing like straight up in the air. And I was like, okay. So sure enough, I blast double him and I take him down. And I was like, see there, I got you. And then he throws me in a guillotine. And I was like, oh, okay. I got to know that's where we were going, but okay. So then we started rolling and I remember he scissor swept me one time so hard, and I didn't know how to like break the fall. I didn't know how to frame. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. So I was just getting worked. And I was like, my whole time I'm getting tapped out left to right. And I was like, I still took him down. I was still right. I still took him down. And so, but yeah. And then eventually he was like, hey, you want to do a jiu-jitsu class? Like we'll give you a gi, And then I was like, yeah, sure. I'll do one. And then it was a small class. There was only 4 of us. And then plus the instructor, Tim. And right away, I'd done so much wrestling in my life. But the first thing that Tim showed was a takedown. It was like a variation of like a high crotch, and it was so smooth and so effortless. And he did it from like a self-defense situation. And I was like, this is the best. Like this is better than any takedown I've ever learned like in my life. And I was like, what in the world? And he showed a sliding collar choke from the back, and he showed how to get there. And the way he instructed everything was so detailed, but it was not overly detailed where it was too much to remember. Yeah. And I was like, I can't wait to do this again. Like I can't wait. And so then I started coming in every time I could and started learning from him. And I remember I was so nervous. Like the first time I actually walked into a class like by myself, because that time I was with him. So like at least I knew one person. When I started doing like the night classes, I was like, I don't know anybody here. And so I was like really nervous. Like they don't know who I am. I'm doing no-gi. Nobody knows I'm a white belt. And like, how am I supposed to approach this? And so.
How old were you at this point?
I'm going to say I was like 18, probably 18 or 19. Yeah. So I did my first class in the summer of 2017. And then I didn't start consistently doing night classes until like, I want to say February of 2018. Okay. Yeah. I started coming to Tuesday, Thursday nights for the no-gi nights because I didn't have a gi. So I was like, I'll just do the no-gi nights. And then, and then I somebody let me have a gi. Well, they didn't let me have it. I paid $20 for it, but it was a nice gi. So I say they gave it to me because it was a really nice.
To be fair, for as much as gis cost, I don't think you'll be selling any for $20.
Yeah, exactly. So he basically gave it to me. Sure. And so I was like, okay, I can start doing the gi classes now. And it was so different, but I loved it. I'm like, this is like so much better because I feel like it was more, for me at least, I know a lot of people have their different debates whether like gi or no gi better. I know some people say it's the same. I don't think it's the same, but I like the gi a lot better because I feel, for one, it feels just more like traditional. Like you really feel like a martial artist when you're in gi. But I like the way it slows down. I really, really like how everything slows down. So I started doing the gi classes. And I'm like, okay, this is good. So then I started training every night that there was classes. I was like, I can make this night. And then I would try to schedule my college classes like around those. And so that was really stressful because I went to Cal Poly Pomona. And so like it was impacted. Like, so I had to really fight and claw for my classes as they were. And then I'm like restricting it to like the schedule. And it was so stressful, but I'm like, no, I can't because I got to be done by like this time because then I got to drive all the way and I got to beat traffic. And then, but I really love doing it. There's nothing else I'd rather do.
I went to Cal Poly as well.
Oh, nice.
I started there. I was definitely like, I was trying to be a broadcast major at that point. And when I showed up, I had gone from being in high school the editor-in-chief of my weekly newspaper to when I go over there, I go, oh, I can't wait to be on a daily newspaper and do all that. And I was like, where's your broadcast room? And they go, oh, this hallway. And I go, is that it? I have some of this equipment at home. Okay, well, do you guys have a print newspaper? Yeah, it's weekly. And I was like, I've already done this. This is terrible. So for me, it was a little bit of an adjustment, but they have some great programs and stuff there. So I know the surroundings and I know how hard it is to get back and forth, especially to here where I know you would be training and coming out and doing all that. Adding your training to that is so difficult. I would tell you this, now that I got a little more story, we're going to pause here. I'm going to go backwards. So your homie who kind of introduced you to this, he's 6'2", right? I'll give you an example of the type of trash talk that I would come up with, which is if I was him, I would have looked at you and been like, well, dude, you're already closer to the ground, so it's not hard to get a takedown. And I would have been right. But the problem is that what that shows me is that when you have this setup, not only does your trash talk afford you more fun now, and your competitiveness kind of give you that fuel that made you a fighter, but if you hadn't have been trash talking that guy, you wouldn't have gotten to do the thing that you love. So what I'm realizing now is the benefits of roasting, of that sort of thing, have really done good things for you, because we'll come back to your story in a minute. But where I kind of entered, I think I've seen you fight before, but I know for sure at this last event that I was covering for True Promotions, I watched your technique. And I remembered you put out like a status up there. You're like, I feel like I could have done better. And I'm like, sure. But from what I saw, I had enough information to say, I think there's a lot of really good stuff here. So do you mind explaining why you felt that performance in particular could have been better? Because I like to give people the outside perspective after they tell me what they thought.
Right. Yeah. I just, I felt amazing like the entire camp, and I'll never make excuses. I'll never say that, I didn't do this because, this happened to me, or like, so to backtrack a little bit, like my fifth fight, that card shows True Promotions. That would have been True Promotions 2. Mm-hmm. So for True 2, I was fighting for the True Promotions title, and that card was supposed to have like 18 fights on it. Mm-hmm. But that was when like COVID just ran through California. Like everybody got it. So it went from like 18 fights to like 10. Yeah. No. And then, so like they were thinking about scrapping the card. And and then I got it like 3 weeks out. And I was like, dude, like this is horrible, and then so like I can't train. And then a couple people from the gym got it, so we had to close the gym down for like a week. And like, most people are like, oh yeah, I'm asymptomatic. I was not asymptomatic. I had a 102 fever. I had the chills, like I was coughing, like I was congested. It was like a type of congestion that it's like way up, like you can't even blow your nose.
Yeah.
So it was bad. And then so I'm still trying to get my weight down and everything, and it was just a total mess. And then I was warming up, hitting the pads. I made it to fight night, right? And I got the negative testing, and then made it to fight night. I was hitting pads. I was like all out of breath. Like I was like coughing stuff up, and I was like, oh my God, like I really hope this fight doesn't get out of the first round. And then I guillotined the guy in the first round. It was like the perfect fight. Like I jabbed him up, and so I'm never gonna make like excuses for that. But going into this fight, I felt that I was like perfect. Like everything when I was training, everything felt perfect. My hands felt perfect. Like my scrambling was great. My pressure was good. I was like, there's just no way that, not even if I win, there was no way that I'm not going to get a finish in this fight. Like I felt amazing. And we had the perfect game plan and everything. And then in my last sparring session, I had some pretty bad pain like in my side. And then later on that night, it popped on me like really, really bad, to the point where I couldn't even like move. And I couldn't even get up out of bed. Somebody had to like drive like 40 minutes to come take me to the ER. And so I was like really worried that I wasn't going to be able to make it to the fight, but I didn't want to like let everybody down. But at the same time, it's like, if you don't win the fight, you can't say anything afterwards, because everyone's going to be like, oh, you're making excuses. Yeah. So it's like, so I think if I would have lost, I wouldn't be talking about this, but yeah, I tore the cartilage in my rib. And so the whole week I would try to move, and then it would pop on me and my whole body would lock up, and I have to like pop it back in place. And it was popping on me when I was warming up. I've never been, people say like, a lot of times fighters like to act fearless, all this stuff. I was so terrified. I was like shaking backstage. I was like, I have to go out there and fight like this. Like, and so, but I just felt that I could have had a much better performance like altogether. I felt that for me, it's always like, if I get somebody to the ground, it's over. Like that's what I expect. Like if I get somebody to the ground, like I'm gonna find a way to finish them. I'm like the stuff that Tim shows me and the stuff that we work on. I just feel like if I get somebody in this position, then I can easily go. I could do this, this, or this. They can't defend all three, and then from there I can go to this. I can go to this. I can go to submission. I can pound their face in. I could do this, and like there's so many things that I'm so excited to show, and I just felt like I didn't do that, and so it really bothered me because especially when I go back and watch the fight, like the first time I watch it, I try to watch it as like a like I'll critique myself.
Like a clean slate, being objective on how it is you're really doing.
Yeah. And then I'll like go back and watch it like as somebody who was going to enjoy, like if I was a fan, would I enjoy this, you know? And the people that support me, I have such an amazing support system. I would not be sitting here with you. If I didn't have it, I would be off doing something else right now. But they're always going to tell you did an amazing job. You did so good, and everything. And I expect the way how hard I train so much, and I put everything into what I do. I expect like nothing but perfect results, because that's what I aim for every day. And obviously, I know that's not going to happen every time, but that's what I expect out of myself. And I just do it because I want people to know how special this place is and how special people are here, because they're the ones that make me, they're the ones that got me here. I didn't just get to like 6-0. I didn't get to this top ranked featherweight just by coming in here by myself. Like it's all the people in here that they help me, and everybody in here has different styles and they help me work on different things. And so I try to put on a performance. People go, oh, where does that guy train at? Oh, Ace Jiu-Jitsu. Oh, okay. Oh, who's their coach there? Oh, it's Tim Cartmel. It's like, oh, okay. Like that's what I'm looking to do. I don't care what people think about me. I care what people like look up, like, where does he train at? Like, and so I felt like that performance didn't do that, but I mean, obviously it did because we're here. So
I was like, you idiot. I'm literally just staring at you like, how the hell did this happen if that didn't do it?
Yeah.
All right. This is where you get to shut up and just take feedback for a minute. Obviously there's always stuff that you want to be in search of. A finish is always ideal, but you still were very dominant in your performance. And one of the things that I can tell you, having watched it and now experienced what you do, your control is very well beyond your years. So watching you put that into an MMA cage with a heavy emphasis on grappling made me go, oh, and I'm rooting for people to win. Win however you win. If it's by punch kick, congrats. You got great kickboxing, Muay Thai, everything. Everybody has something that they pull out. You were one of the first people in a while that stood out to me for your grappling. And even though you didn't get the finish from the back, there were a couple times I was like, yo, he's just short of it. Like a couple of those rear naked choke attempts, I was like, this kid has a really good work. So I know it's hard to do. And I know in passing, you and I were shooting messages to set up this interview, and you said like, yeah, I kind of had an injury. And I was like, you did? I wouldn't have known that. And then I went back and replayed the fight in my head, and I said, you know what? Everything you did was safe and smart. So everything had purpose, even if you block that out of your head to be like, no, I'm just going to go in there and do the job and not worry about if I'm hurt or not. You still subconsciously are working with that injury. And the fact that you played it so smart tells us that in the future, you'll be able to handle a lot, even when it really puts it on you in such a high stress situation. So I think that's commendable. So it only reinforced that my instinct was, no, we should talk, because we should catalog what happened on that day. Because what you've been doing, and I really like this, that True was paying attention, was they, I think, started playing, now I know this, to your competitiveness, because they started saying like, well, who should Eddie take on now? And I saw you, and it wasn't like you're a dick, but it was like, you're like, yeah, bring somebody. I'm watching. I'm looking for someone to show me something. And I thought, my man's selling the next fight. Good for him. So when you are sitting back here, how hard is it to not just be in the cage again, like right now? Because all things considered, you feel much better. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to like watch anything when we were rolling, though I did think rib compression hit nothing but rib compressions. So what are you looking now in terms of what you want to do next?
Yeah, we want that state title fight. That's what we want. So I think on Tapology right now, last time I checked, I was ranked number 2. And the guy at number 1, great fighter, but he fights at 135. So there's a little mistake there. So in my eyes, I'm the best amateur featherweight in California. And I want to fight for that belt. Whoever has it, I don't care. If somebody thinks they're better than me, then they could answer the phone call and we can meet at the next True Promotions event. Like I'm sitting here and I'm waiting. So, but if we don't get that state title fight, then we're just going to move up and go pro sometime later on this year. The thing is, I feel like that camo belt, the state belt, especially at featherweight, is such a huge, like, no pun intended, but it's actually a feather. It's a big feather in your cap.
Yeah.
Because there's so many guys that, like, that's just like the middle. Like the average person is like 5'9", whatever. And they're in that range right there, right? So it's not like you win the camo belt at like heavyweight,
right?
You know what I mean? There's not really a whole lot of heavyweight fighters at the amateur level, and so so to know that you're the best at like that big weight class in California, like such a big state, then that's huge, and that just looks really, really good to anybody looking to to find you. So like we have like a pretty good resume, I feel. Like we have 4 finishes and 3 of them coming in the first round. And so like I'm just looking for whoever has that belt. I don't care if it's fighting for a vacant belt. I don't care if it's the guy that has it right now. I don't care. But if not, then I'm not going to stick around and fight for another amateur fight. Like I'm looking to move up then.
You're ready to move on at a certain point, and that's understandable. So let's backtrack. Why fight? Because for you, the competitiveness is there, and that's important to have. Like, I feel like fighters need to have that because there's a lot of nights where it's just you in the gym, really pushing yourself, going out on runs, doing all the things you don't want to do. And if you don't have that competitiveness, it's very easy for that to become overwhelming. But you could do a number of things. You can compete in jiu-jitsu, you could do teaching, you could do whatever you want to do. But why fight?
I just think that something about like fighting is just, I don't know, it's different. Like you have, as soon as it's locked on, you have, okay, like whatever the date is. So like last time it was April 23rd. It's like you're only thinking about that day. Like everything you do is like it's one thing to come in and train, but when you're training for an event, whether it's a grappling event, whether it's a, anything, but like, especially for like a fight, it's like all these people are coming and then you have all these people behind you and they're supporting you and everybody's shooting you these messages of encouragement, and it really helps. And so everybody has different reasons why they fight, but I know that it brings out something just like different in me. And I know like in this gym, like it has a big, you feel the energy change when there's a fight coming up. Everybody comes in, they pitch in to help me, and it's a group effort, and it makes me really happy. And so I fight because, like I said before, I want to put Ace on the map, and it's been a while since we've had a fighter out of here, and we have people that compete and they do really, really well. But as far as like the cage goes, like if you look at like the bout sheets for all my fights, you'll see like maybe like 4 gyms on there. You'll see like CMMA, you'll see CSW, maybe you'll see like maybe a King's MMA on there, and then it's just Ace Jiu-Jitsu. And people are like, Ace Jiu-Jitsu, what is that? And so and so I have such a good, amazing support system, especially with my dad. The way he sells tickets, like he always just goes all out, and he showed me last time. He went through his entire contact list, and he told everybody, hey, you want to get tickets for my son's fight, and this and that. And so so we get like the biggest crowd. So I remember like my first fight, I was still a white belt, and we scheduled our fight, and then everybody was asking me, hey, so like what number fight are you? And I'm thinking it's my first fight. I was fighting a guy, I think he was 2-1, and so I was like, we'll probably be like one of the first or 2. And then so I texted the promoter the night before. I was like, hey, like, do you know when we'll be fighting so that my people will show up? And then he goes, actually, you're bringing in so many people, so we're making you the main event. And I was like,
oh damn.
Okay. I was like, all right. So then, and so I'm like, what the heck? So then, it was crazy. Like I'd never experienced anything like that before. Like I played sports before and stuff like that, but it's just so different when, especially when you're the last fight, like everybody there that's left is there to watch you perform. And so that was something that was really different. And something that really like got me was that it was my first event. I didn't really know what to expect. We were in the back. We were like warming up and stuff. Actually, we had just gotten there and it was packed because there was a lot of fights. There was like a lot of fights. And so everybody's warming up and there wasn't really any room to do anything. And like, I wanted to start warming up like right away. Like I really just wanted to get into it and just start because I just didn't want to just sit there. I could just like relax. And then what was really eerie to me, and it's always like this, it's always just, it makes me feel kind of weird. It's kind of badass at the same time, but I get there and I'm like, there's going to be a moment in here where it's just us warming up. Like it's so packed right now. There's going to be a time where it's literally just me and like my 3 coaches just warming up, and it's going to be quiet. You're just going to hear the pads and you're going to hear the other guy hitting pads. And it's like, so, but it's such a cool feeling. And then you walk out and, you know, everybody's been waiting because the events they're kind of long. Like they're not fast. And so
I shoot them.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
And you know what? Sometimes my homies go 7th and they go out afterwards and they go, hey, Ref, why don't you come out and have dinner with us? I go, I'm stuck here.
Yeah.
I'm still shooting. And they're like, why? And I go, because the last dude fighting is going to have nobody here. So at the very least I can do is take some photos for the guy. They're always like, okay, well, we're going to go eat. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Go enjoy yourselves. Have fun.
Yeah. So, but I just, you know, and then so every single time now, like the crowd just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm like, dude, like it's just so crazy. Like I never, like the idea to do a fight was just something that was like pitched out to me. And I was like, I like sparring. Like I like rolling. I think it'd be fun, you know? And so, I was like, yeah, I'll do a fight. And then my dad went all out, like the support. And then I was like, okay, that fight went really well because I took the guy down and submitted him in like less than a minute. And I was like, I put him to sleep. I never put anybody to sleep before. So I took him down and then I arm triangled him and like, I just feel his whole body go limp. And then the referee like touches me and I look up and his eyes are like rolled the back of his head. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, I just put someone to sleep. And then so like I'm running around the cage like a madman and everybody's screaming. And then I was like, dude, that was really good. I was like, I'll do another one. So then I fought like 3 months later. And this one was crazy because this fight it was Knockout Promotions. It was a different promotion. They did a really good job because the other guy, he was 0-0, but he owned a gym. And so he like had a huge following. So it was like my big following versus his big following.
Man.
And so when we walked out there, like that place was still packed. Like it was, I couldn't see any like open seats. And so, and it was so loud. And then, so I won that one by knockout, like clean and like it was a clean head kick knockout. I'm talking like stiff. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it's a lot of it's still like a blur, but I just remember like I watch the videos now and it's so loud. It's so loud. And it still gives me chills whenever I watch it now because it's just, yeah, it's crazy. And then so after, you know, obviously after that fight, everybody's like, when are you gonna fight again? You know, like that's always the first question people ask.
It's the drug.
Yeah.
It's what happens. Yeah.
And people ask, when are we gonna see it again? And so, and then, you know, the whole COVID thing happened and the world got shut down. And then I fought in June, and then that one was really big. That one was crazy. Okay, so this fight, right? So, okay, let me tell you about this. So same place, right? Knockout Promotions at the Metroflex gym. Everybody's super excited because this is like everybody's first event back.
Yep.
Since the world was stopped. So then, so we're in the back, we're warming up, and then actually not warming up, but we're just waiting. We just got there, and people start calling me, like, "Hey, can you get me in?" And I'm like, first of all, why can't you just get in? Second of all, why are you hitting
also,
me?
never talk to the fighter day of. Like that is a golden rule. Don't hit them up. Their job is to fight. Your job was to get the tickets any other day before the fight. And I will even go one step further. Don't bug them week of. I've done interviews with fighters week of. Not my best work. And I do great work. I don't have very many bad interviews. But I've had some homies where we've done the interview the week of, and they're like, man, I would do it for you.
Right.
And I go, great. Then they're cutting weight, and you just hear like, that's a good joke, man. You guys are funny. And I go, oh my God, they're so out of energy because they're dying.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
so, yeah. So, and you know, like I try to be nice, you know, because they're still paying money to come see me fight and stuff. And I know some people were still kind of sketched out, you know, about like being at a crowded event. Like, So I understood that. And now, you know, I was trying to be nice. And so, but people are hitting me up like, yeah, like, they're not letting people in anymore. Like they said they're going to shut down the event. So now I'm sitting backstage and I'm like, I just prepared all this time. Like they're gonna shut down the event. Like so now I'm thinking like, am I not gonna fight? Like what's going on? And they're like, yeah, the fire department's here. Like they're gonna shut it down. They oversold tickets. They sold more tickets than they could, and like the line was going like it was like a mile long.
Yeah.
Like, from what I heard, I didn't see it, but like so then they had to like start sneaking people in through the back, and then so like now all my fans are, instead of coming into like the main entrance, they're coming through the back and they're seeing me. So now everybody's like, "Oh, dude, how's it going? Like, how you feeling? Like, are you ready? You know, blah blah blah.
Oh, no,
Like, can I take a picture real quick?" And I'm like, "Dude, like, get out of here." So, so that was crazy. And then the gym was like so packed they couldn't fit like all the people, and then so like they had to go outside, and like we were warming up like in the parking lot, and it was like nuts. Yeah, it was such a crazy event, and you know the guy was from CSW, so he had a huge following too, and his name was Edgar. So like one side was chanting Edgar, the other side was chanting Eddie, and so it was Edgar, Eddie, and it was like crazy. And then so I won that one, and then that one was for a title. It was my first fight with no shin pads, and so it was so cool because I walked out of there with a belt. And so going back to my pro wrestling, you know, when I was a fan of that like a lot when I was younger, one of my favorite things when I was younger was to buy the replica titles, the replica belts.
No.
So to this day, like in my house, I still have boxes and boxes of every single belt you can think of, like little like foam ones or like the plastic, you know. I used to walk through, like, my grandma would help me put the Velcro on, and I'd rock around like that. Like, so like to actually win a belt and like have it was something so crazy.
Okay, we need to talk about this.
Absolutely.
You've seen that meme that's like those who wear belts to pro wrestling events should have to defend them.
Oh yes.
Like that is one of the jokes that I've done for years. I predate that, by the way. That's my joke. They probably stole it from me somewhere. But I used to tell people when I would go to like a pro wrestling event as an adult, I'd go, if you're a kid, all good. Under 18, don't care. If you're over 18 and you're wearing that belt, I should be able to take that from you. And more importantly, if I pin you, these goons will all chant 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
But I actually think I'll submit most of these people because I see that belt's not going to fit around your waist. So I feel pretty strongly about this. Right. Did you ever go to an event with the belt on?
No, actually, I never did.
Okay. Yeah. Did you ever wear the belt outside of the house?
You're talking about when I was a little kid, right?
I'm just making sure it's an open-ended question on purpose.
Yeah. No.
Because if you were 15, you're about that age where I'm like, nah, he's too young. He's still a kid.
I do have like a vague memory. I remember my parents bought me. I was little. I want to make sure that's
again, under 18, no problem. You did it.
Yeah.
You're a kid. To me, even if you're in a teenager, you're wearing a belt, be like, these are stupid. I'd still be like, dude, it's a kid. Nobody pick on this kid.
Yeah, I remember I was probably like 6, and my parents had just got me the not the super old school Intercontinental one, but like the I don't know, the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
The oval looking one.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was wearing that one. I remember we went to a restaurant and like I tried to like sit down and eat with it, and it like, stabbed me in the stomach. and like, but yeah, I remember that. I think other than that though, I think that was the only time. Or like for a Halloween costume, I would wear like.
What did you go as for Halloween?
I remember when I was younger, my brother and I were both the Undertaker. So he was the American Badass Undertaker, and I was I can find a picture of that somewhere.
You're gonna need to find that for me. That's amazing. This little kid coming in, and were you doing the eye roll or were you just?
I couldn't do it. I was looking at the ceiling the whole time. But yeah, they put like goatees on us. My brother had like a bandana, you know. They put a little goatee on him and sunglasses, and then so we were both the Undertaker. I still think to this day that was the best Halloween costume like I ever did.
That's a genius. I mean, I would go as the Undertaker now, so congrats to you.
That was the only time I think. Actually, no, we were younger. I think we were Batman and Robin, but that was like the last time that we did a
joint.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the brother. Yeah, we had a neighbor. I felt so bad. I mean, in retrospect, it's kind of a shit move, but I remembered almost cutting a deal with my family and their family and being like, I go as Batman or nothing. And I was a little taller too. My guy had to go as Robin. Oh. And like, I think back to that now and I'm like, I was kind of a dick for doing that, but I really am Batman. If you really look at the stats, not a billionaire, but like, you know, The reason why I asked this is because we have a bit in WWE BJJ for every year we do like a championship match. So like this year, the bit was I was doing a broadcast like this. We did like one for a Royal Rumble. We were watching it. And then my guy hit me with the chair and then pins me and takes the belt.
Okay.
So we do that bit and then see that through and we tell a whole story with that. So the problem is you fight, but if I saw you wearing a belt, my instincts would kick in and I'd be like, oh, the problem is that if I hit him with the steel chair and then take a pin on him, which is hard to do with a wrestler, but okay. Would I be the new featherweight state champ? What happened here?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
I want to.
If it goes down, like, I mean.
I want to establish the rules because, again, we've gone from friendly, like, hello, this was fun training to, no, talk trash to me. And I'm like, uh-oh. This kid's becoming very, very friendly very quickly. He may very quickly regret being too nice to me.
I think I'll just make sure that I don't wear the belt around you so that way I don't
Thank you. It does. And again, it's just a grown person wearing a belt.
Absolutely.
If you win it day of, I don't tend to mess with people because I'm like, hey, listen, this is your day in the sun. But if I happen to see you outside of like that event,
right,
I'm gonna be like, you open it up at Kmart or something.
No, yeah, I agree. I think it's weird. I mean, now it's different if you're a UFC like champion. I mean, I've seen people wear it.
Understood. That's
different.
Hey, different. Listen, dude, you win a UFC belt. I don't think I'm trying to steal it from you as much as I'm like, yo, can I get a photo with this? All right, absolutely. It's yours again, dude.
That's different.
I'm not getting a call from Dana being like, what the fuck you doing with that belt?
Yeah, I do think though, like anytime somebody wears like a belt like outside of it, like even if you're like an amazing fighter, it's so weird. I've seen people wear them like fighters that have won their belts. I've seen them wear it like outside, and I'm just like, what are you doing, dude?
It's like, just like so again, it's MMA fighters. You did beat somebody. The bit we used to do with pro wrestling fans who would show up, and I've been to events where there's hundreds of them in the audience. In fact, this one I went to for AEW that was in LA a couple weeks ago. A dude had a UFC belt there, and I'm like, what is that? That doesn't even make this. You're crossing things.
Yeah,
that's a real like replica belt that you brought to a keep them separate.
Yeah,
but I always say, you know, in MMA you beat somebody for it. When pro wrestling fans show up with a belt, I was like, who'd you beat? The merchant at Walmart who gave that to you? Like, at least earn it. That's all I ever ask.
Absolutely.
So let's go back here. I mentioned we'd go back a couple times. We asked why fight. I get that sense from you now. Bigger question. When did you fall in love with grappling? Because you mentioned it was one of those things where it felt instant and it was in that wrestling room that you started to go like, okay, maybe I could do it more. You get challenged, you go to a gym, you go, oh, this is really fun. I like this. But everybody has a moment where they say this goes from, I like this to, oh, I love this so much, I'm going to make this a profession.
Yeah, I think it was more like the place that I was in when it was being here. I don't think I would have fallen in love with it as much as I have if I was training anywhere else. I mean, maybe I'm sure there's a lot of good gyms around here. I'm sure I would have. Sure. But something about like this place and the people here really, really did it for me. I know one of my main guys, he's a black belt now, he got his black belt a couple years ago, JP. He was one of the guys that he really, really helped me. He was a brown belt when I started, and I was just like some spazzy white belt wrestler. And he was always, you know, like a lot of times like a spazzy guy comes in, it's like you roll with him and it's like, yeah. But he really like took the time with me and helped me with like my pressure and like, you know, all my psychiatrist. Remember, he would like almost yell at me sometimes to like get my weight down after I passed. Because, you know, as a wrestler, you don't really do that a whole lot.
Right.
So I mean, to this day now, he's still like one of my main training partners. But I would say I really fell in love with it when I started realizing how you could do it slow and like methodical, like not so much to where wrestling is really aggressive and there's a lot of speed and power and all that involved. Whereas jiu-jitsu, it's a lot of it. And we were talking about this. A lot of it's angles. A lot of it's, you know, finding where people don't have base and finding out where they're off balance. And so I think when I found out that where there's a lot more to this than I understand. And every single day I know like there's so much out here and there's so much being discovered that I'm never gonna know everything. Nobody's ever gonna know everything about this stuff. People are always gonna find new moves that work and chain together and stuff. So I think the fact that it's so easy to find something else to get good at, I think that's really what attracts me to this.
Well, listen, dude, again, you've only been doing this, all things considered, for a short amount of time. And in that, it's really cool to see where you are in your journey now, because you are doing so well in MMA. And I think that you've translated a lot of what made you go from wrestling to jiu-jitsu to MMA. So it seems like a natural progression. One thing I would like to ask as we start to kind of wrap things up is, what do you feel was like the best thing you learned about transitioning your wrestler skills into a jiu-jitsu skill? Because you did mention the whole thing of going slow, but telling that to wrestlers is like sometimes falls on deaf ears until they see it and experience it. So what do you think is like the best piece of advice for people who are transitioning from wrestling into jiu-jitsu?
I would say the best thing to do is start off your back, because I realized how, especially in here, a lot of our jiu-jitsu is slow and there's a lot of pressure, and everything is like finding those openings, but also creating those openings. So I would say I got a lot better at jiu-jitsu when I started working off my back, and I started realizing how I could be controlled by people that are going super slow, and just they're controlling my hips, they're controlling the way my head is oriented, they're controlling everything like that. And I was like, you don't need to be moving around super fast to control somebody. Yeah. So I would say the sooner, if you're a wrestler and your top game, it's gonna be good. Like, I mean, you're just gonna be like above like the normal average person who starts jiu-jitsu. Like so I would say start off your back, and then you'll realize, you'll feel how it's supposed to feel when you're on top of somebody. And people aren't going to give you those openings as much as you would if you were scrambling around all the time. So I would say start off your back and start working from your guard. Start working how to escape side control, and especially escape mount. I feel like a lot of times, especially it's happened to me, is like where someone would get on top of me, whether they'd sweep me or whatever, and then they would mount me and I would just be helpless. And I was like, okay, well, now just make sure I don't get swept next time. And it's like, that's not really the point. The point is to learn how to get out of mount. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just don't get swept. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I always tell people, like, especially wrestlers, but just in general, you should learn how to defend first. Whether you're going to go into anything, whether you're going to start like learning the mount, like learn how to defend first. Learn how to make sure that the average person on the street cannot hold you down and kick your ass. That's the most important part. And then once you start learning how to defend and you feel like you could have good guard retention and escape some good pins, then you start building an offense around that. Because if you're hopeless off your back, everybody's gonna put you on your back. So yeah, I always say, like, anytime I do like a private lesson with somebody, that's the first thing, is like how to stay safe if somebody's on top of you. And then but I feel like everything should, I feel like in life it should be like this too, but especially in jiu-jitsu, you want to go in phases, right? So whether it's you find something you really like, you build a move, it's like, okay, I'm actually really good at this move. And then you just say, okay, now I build my whole game around that move. What chains to this? And then you get really good at that. And then you can chain them together. Now you have 2 moves. And then you find stuff that chains to that. Now you have 3. And then before you know, you have a whole game, you have a whole system. So, but you'll never be able to do that until you're able to defend off your back and you feel, because then if you feel like you could defend out of these positions, you're like, I don't care if I get put on my back, I'll just get up.
Yeah.
Just get up.
The easiest thing in the world.
Exactly.
Hey, you idiots, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. So, but no, yeah, I feel like once you feel comfortable, like escaping these pins and escaping these bad positions, then you're like, I could take more chances when I'm on top, because if I lose it and the guy gets on top of me, I'm not. So yeah, I think that's the big key to getting good at grappling in general, is starting there.
Some great advice, man. I just want to tell you this. Already a fan of what you're doing, getting to train with you. I appreciate you opening up the gym and getting in some rounds. Just from what I see, there's a very, very good trajectory that you're on right now. And I feel very happy that we were able to connect in this way, because I think that people should have an eye on you. They should be watching what you're doing. And, you are accomplishing mission 1, which is putting this on the map, this gym. But like, what I'm hoping for you is that you continue to find new and fun things as you were on this MMA journey. Because already just, it was really cool watching that last fight of yours and saying like, I wonder if this kid's okay. I don't know what he's like in person. You never know when you do these things. You're always like, yeah, I'll reach out to you. Worst thing is, it's a terrible day.
He's an asshole.
Yeah, well, I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah,
you could have come over here and been like, yo, that's just who I'm in the cage. Fuck you, Raph.
Right.
But so nice, so kind, so accommodating. I hope that things are good. So I'm already looking forward to your next thing. And we don't know what that is yet, but we know good things probably coming very soon. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to go ahead and look at that microphone, or not that microphone, that camera right there. And thank anybody that you wanted to who helped you with this camp, any of your sponsors, any of that stuff. It's all yours, sir.
I would say first and foremost, I got to thank just Ace Jiu-Jitsu in general. I got to thank Tim Cartmel, my main coach. He's something really special. We like to call him the best kept secret in Jiu-Jitsu. And so now I'd say it's time for that secret to be let out. So I tell everybody about him. He's just amazing. So if you're in the Fountain Valley area, or if you're not like me, I'm not in the Fountain Valley area. I live in Pomona. It's a 45-minute drive for me, but I make the drive every single day. He's really something special. So big shout out to him. I definitely wouldn't be here without him. Also, big shout out to Asa Fuller. He's the one that opened up this gym. It's like 13 or 14 years ago. So him and Chris Tui, they opened up this gym, and they've really made me feel at home, and they've really like taken me under their wing. So they trust me with the kids program to teach the kids, and that's helped me a lot in my game too, is being able to learn the moves and teach them to them. So definitely I thank them first. I also really want to thank my dad. My dad, by far, the biggest supporter.
Yeah, I used to sell comedy shows, and I need to call your dad and just be like, yo, sell these for me, man. Yeah, that's amazing promotion.
No, he's amazing, and he doesn't care. Like we'll go eat at some restaurant. He's like, hey, you like watching fights? And I'm like, yeah, I like watching fights. And he goes, my son's a fighter. And like, and like, I don't think I've ever said those words like, hey, I'm a fighter. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, but he's the one, he's like, hey, like, it's always the same way. He has like a little formula now that he does. So and everybody should thank my dad, because those events would not be what they are without him. Like I just, I have a huge support system, but he's by far like the top guy. And so, definitely gotta thank my dad. I gotta thank some of my top sponsors. Like, I mean, there's so many people that contribute. Like, there's so many to thank, and they're all on my shirts. But Glamis Auto Body is one that's been supporting me since I was really, really little. So it's my uncle. So that's awesome. So they were always looking out for me, and just one of those people that believed in me before I even believed in myself. So definitely got to give a shout to Glamis Auto Body. And then One Bad Toy Factory is another one. They're like a motorsport company, and so they were my first big one. Like, they're on the front of my shorts and they're on the front of my shirts. And so to have these people, and they did, it's different if it's a pro fighter and they have a bunch of pro wins, and it's like, oh yeah, I want to sponsor him. But when you're an amateur fighter and not people really know about you, then it's like, why am I going to send my money to this guy? I don't even know who he is. I don't know if he's good. So they're like taking a chance on me, and so I really appreciate them. And but again, that goes back to my dad. My dad's the one selling it. So yeah, my dad, definitely my dad. And I know I tell him all the time how much I appreciate it, but I sometimes I feel like he doesn't know. So, Dad, I know you're watching this. I appreciate it.
It never hurts to say it more, especially, always take care of the family. And that's a big blessing to have. So shout out. Awesome stuff. And obviously with good reason. He's had good performances to be able to sell. And I'm pretty sure each time you win, he looks over and he goes, you missed out. My kid just won another fight. Don't miss out on the next one. So that's what's really good about it. Well, listen, dude, we're going to go ahead and start circling this as a little bookmark for here. We'll pick up again, I'm sure, after the next fight. But this introduction has been great. And I very much look forward to seeing the next thing. So when we run into each other and we train next time, I promise to do more trash talking. I promise to be a little more ruthless, because now that I know the true competitive nature of what you do and you present, you'll get to hear a little bit. I don't know. I'm gonna dial you in slowly but surely with jokes, and then we'll see how it goes.
I'm excited. I can't wait.
Yep. Well, I mean, here's the good news. You say that, but now also because you're a pro wrestling fan, I know that I can do certain moves to you that I wouldn't do to. You said absolutely.
Yeah. Let's
Man,
let's
all
see.
right.
Let's see. Now I know they're coming. Now I know they're coming. So I'm gonna be working. I'm gonna Google sharpshooter defense.
I mean, you can try. The difference is I've done it to enough people where the people were like, "How'd you do that?" I was like, "I've been doing this longer than jiu-jitsu."
I'm gonna learn it and I'm gonna hit it in a fight one day, and then it's gonna go viral. I'm gonna say,
Bro, nothing would make me happier.
Yeah.
Nothing would make me happier than that.
Absolutely.
But you know, it was kind of hard because as I was setting up this table, I was like, I'm gonna put him through this table. That's how I should finish this interview. But instead, now that I know you're an Undertaker fan, I'm just gonna tombstone you in a minute.
There you go. Perfect.
Hey, appreciate you, brother.
Thank you so much, man.
Great stuff.
Perfect.